Sir, live now.
Dear all, a warm welcome from Symbiosis Center for Emotional Wellbeing. On the eve prior to World Sexual Health Day, which is celebrated on the 4th of September every year, sexuality is something that everyone wishes to know about, but we rarely see an authentic resource to learn about it. Let me share what World Health Organization says about it. Sexual health is a state of physical, emotional, mental, and social well being related to sexuality. It is not merely the absence of disease, dysfunction, or infirmity. It requires a positive and respectful approach to sexuality and sexual relationships, giving it a pleasurable and safe sexual experience that is free of coercion, discrimination, and violence. So without wasting more time, let me introduce our esteemed speaker for the webinar today, Dr. Neena Sawant, Madam. To give a brief introduction about Dr. Neena, ma'am, she is currently working as a professor in Department of Psychiatry at St. GS Medical College and KEM Hospital, Mumbai. She is also a consultant psychiatrist at Global Hospitals in Mumbai. She is having more than 28 years of experience in her hand. Her areas of interest are sexual medicine, child psychiatry, and neuropsychiatry. She has honored to be author for 5 books on problems in children and parenting in vernacular languages for general public. She has more than 90 national and international publications to her credit and more than 100 publications in various magazines. It is good to know that ma'am is a chairperson for Indian Psychiatric Society West Zone Branch, Postgraduate Psychiatric Education. She is also chair on IPS, that is Indian Psychiatric Society Sexual Medicine Specialty Section. So we have the speaker now. Over to you, ma'am, and please guide us on this interesting topic, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rahul. And yes, I must thank Dr. Girija for giving me this opportunity to interact with all of you today on the eve of World Sexual Health Day. Yes, we do celebrate it. And when we are celebrating it, we have to know what we understand by sexuality. Today, the theme given to me was sex in the city. So I would like to put a disclaimer before I begin that I'm not going to tell you how sex is happening in the city. I am going to make you aware so that you are aware of your own sexual self-construct. This is what we call knowing one's own sexuality and sensuality. So now I will start my screen share. And yes, we begin with trying to understand what is sex and the city. So now, when I'm telling you that one has to know about one's own idea about one's sexuality, today's term, we call it the sexual self-construct. And this sexual self-construct actually happens or gets formed depending upon a variety of factors. What are these factors? Yes, it is your physical appearance. It is your psychological makeup, your social behaviors, the cultural impact, and the spiritual impact. So like each of us is born with a gender, which we say is a male or a female. We have a genotype and a phenotype. A genotype is a genetic makeup which says, yes, my chromosomes are of the male order or of the female order. The phenotype is how I appear to the world. I may be having male chromosomes, but I appear to the world as a female, means I do not like the gender in which I'm born, and I prefer to be of the other gender. I take the phenotype, the appearance of the other gender. So there could be variations in all these things. all these factors have a psychological impact. The way in which we are brought up, the way in which we view our bodies, all this is important, which actually affects our sexuality when you are an adult. Mind you, you're not even aware of your sexuality as a child. But as you're developing, these things get formed in your mind. And because today in our culture, we're not so open about talking about sex. Yes, the current generation Z is forward and does come out with their problems. But still, people are very reticent to talk about sex. So that is the social impact. Culture, depending upon which culture you are and what are, like I can say, the Maharashtrian culture, the Gujarati culture, all our cultural attributes actually impact how we look at sex, how often sex is talked about in our homes, how free people are talking about sex, how comfortable am I discussing my own sexual problems with my family, with my friend, with my relatives or teachers, etc. So all this is based on your cultural impact and spiritual. I mean, we have so many families who are very, very religious, and most of the religions do talk about abstinence from sex, or like sex is a gratification which one should not look for. So normally when we are looking at our own body and we are looking at our drives, so we have a life instinct, I have a death instinct, I have a drive to sustain, live, and similarly I have a drive which is my sexual drive. So it is an innate part of the human being. But if we consider that we should not think about it, means I'm trying to prohibit myself from thinking about it, then I may get problems. I may get psychological problems, I may get bodily problems, I may get social problems, anything. So the spiritual impact is also important, because in homes where we find that there is too much of a religious background where sex is considered sinful, you should not think about it, then those children who develop in that kind of environment are not comfortable of their own sexuality, or do have problems or sexual dysfunctions when they grow into relationships. Now, when we talk about sexuality, very, very important to know what are the components of sexuality. It's a very common term that is used normally. It actually entails sensuality, intimacy, sexual identity, reproduction, and sexualization. What do we mean by that? Each term is different. Now, if we talk about sensuality, it is awareness and acceptance of one's own body. So when I say I am aware and I'm a sensual person, that means I am aware of the anatomy, means anatomy, money, the anatomy of your genital organs. I'm aware of the physiology, my body's drives, my physiology, where I know that, okay, I get aroused, I know how to satisfy my urges. So that is having the anatomy, knowing the anatomy and physiology. Along with it, it is very important to know the sexual response. Like many of us, as we are growing up, we read a lot of romantic books, especially girls, or boys keep on looking at porn, or they look at beautiful girls, or they have grown up in an environment where, beauty is equated to a figure like 36, 24, 36, or, somebody who has got curves, or somebody who is slim and tall and fair. Whatever your ideas about beauty are ingrained from somebody else, because this is what you keep on hearing around you. You should marry a fair person, because darkness in our culture is considered, not good, equated to somebody who's not beautiful, which is not true. Everybody has their own beauty. You have to look at a person and try to know that whether this person arouses you. But if I've grown up in a response which kind of restricts my ability to open my eyes, then yes, I may have difficulty in finding a partner who I like. So you have to be very, aware of your body's response. You have to be aware of whether you feel some kind of, a tingling, or, what we used to say chemistry, or we call chemistry, उसके साथ नजर मिली तो मुझे झट से लगा कि ये मेरे लिए है, that kind of a thing. Or what they show in music, in movies, where, suddenly the eyes meet and there is a kind of a bond which is formed. Normal life, we don't have those kind of instances, but still there are people who are aware and they say, yes, when I looked and I realized this person's made for me. So I am aware of my body's response, and I am probably aware of my pheromones, which make me aware of the other person. Then there is a lot of body image issue, like sensuality. People who are sensual accept their body, like their body the way it is, and they are very comfortable with their physical appearance. They do not have body image disturbances. So they know that, okay, I look good, or I know how to highlight my body, or how to carry myself. Extremely important. If I'm diffident, if I feel, no, I'm too fat, or no, I'm too dark, or I don't think any guy is going to look at me, or I don't think I'm going to have a partner in my life. So already I have a lot of negative emotions, and I am not comfortable of my own skin, or I'm not positive about my own body image. So all that is going to play a role when I interact with the opposite sex. So something like an attraction template, what does it mean? Actually, there's no such template, but because of your own awareness about your body, your sexuality, your sexual response, your appearance, you know 100% what kind of an impact it has on the other person. So yes, any actress or a model or whoever, they dress, they project themselves in such a manner that they know, yes, samne wala marne wala hai. Because that is the effect, or that is the knowledge they possess of their own bodies. And the ability to use fantasy. Now, fantasy is an arena in which we kind of lose ourselves. Everybody fantasizes. What you say, you daydream about, owning a bungalow, big car, and etc., having, going all around the world, etc. Those are one types of fantasy. Plus, you also have something called a sexual fantasy. And sexual fantasy is normally used by people when they masturbate. But whether you can fantasize, the ability to fantasize is something which is a part of your sensuality. Everybody can fantasize. It is just how much you train yourself, or how much you allow yourself. That is what is important. Intimacy. Intimacy is like being close to one another. And yes, people have gone through relations. They know what is closeness, what is caring, what is sharing. Everybody is living in a family. So we are intimate with our relatives, with our parents. Intimacy doesn't mean only sexual intimacy. Sexual intimacy comes with a particular person, but normally also we are quite intimate with our relatives. I would like to share some things with my mother or with my sister, which I would not share with a friend. So caring, sharing, risk taking, doing something, going out of the way and doing something for your whoever your partner is, or maybe if you're not in a relationship, but doing it for a friend, etc. So all of us know how to be intimate. We've learned this over years because we have experienced intimacy. We also know how to hurt somebody or be hurt. That is vulnerability. So yes, somebody says this thing to me and I feel, oh my God, how can she say this? I mean, she's my good friend. So I know I'm vulnerable if somebody tells me in this particular tone or doesn't do what I have asked because I expected this person to do. So I know my vulnerability. I probably show my vulnerability to people around me. And somebody can take advantage of that vulnerability, or somebody may help you out if you're in a vulnerable situation. So it works both ways. But being aware of that is a part of intimacy. Self-disclosure. Self-disclosure is something where, there are some things which we like to keep secret, and we don't want to tell. And I can't tell this to people because they'll think it's silly or they'll make fun of me. These are all the things we all go through as we are growing up. And then, yes, we do have some best friends with whom I may do some self-disclosure. So I also do self-disclosure in a relationship, especially when we are in a sexual kind of a relationship with my partner, how much I disclose. So normally everybody doesn't, when they get married or when they're in a relationship, first day, nobody says everything to that person. No, it goes gradually. So self-disclosure happens. That also, how much I want to, how much I don't want to, whether I trust this person, whether I do not trust this person. So it comes with time. But yes, self-disclosure, when it happens, it means that you are intimate with that person. So that is when you would actually, you are for sure knowing that, yes, this person is for me and this person will do anything for me, and I can share my mind completely out to this person. Then yes, we come to sexual identity. So like I gave you that example, you may be whichever genotype, but you're not comfortable with that genotype. And so you don't fall into that gender role. Gender role is whether you take up the masculine role or the feminine role, which is normally laid down in our culture and our society. So like it is initially, it was women are supposed to be staying at home, doing the cooking, nurturing, whereas men are supposed to be going out and they are the ones who are supposed to be the earning members. So these were the gender roles which were defined by society, and we learned about gender roles as we grew up. Orientation, whether if I'm born with the male chromosomes, do I look at myself as a male, or I have some dysphoria and I'm unhappy with the sex in which I'm born and I want to change my sex. Maybe your gender orientation as well as your sexual orientation. So if I'm born in the male gender, but I'm unhappy and I want to change to a female, so that is gender dysphoria, because I don't want to be a male, but I want to change to a female, but I'm attracted to females. So my sexual orientation is homosexual. So you have to identify what is the gender orientation, what is the sexual orientation, what are the gender roles. Along with it, you have to look at your own self-esteem. How do you look at yourself? Means whether you hold yourself in good regard, high regard, low regard. How is your level of confidence? How are your relationships with your family and friends? And what roles you've played as a child and an adult. Perception of self as a male or a female, totally, in totality. Are you happy with it? Are you comfortable with it? So we have so many females who are as dominating as males and have put themselves in the male gender role, though they are feminine. So they may have an appearance of a very hard go-getting female, somebody who's the boss. So you have different people who go through this process of discovering who they are in terms of sexuality, so these are all the various parts of your sexual identity. And it is fluid. It doesn't mean that it is, aaj aisa hai to main umar bhar aisi hi rahungi. No, I may change. Maybe a couple of years down the line, I may change some aspects of my behaviors, expectations, etc. Then reproduction. Reproduction is also an essential part of sexuality or understanding sexuality, because it is, having these attitudes in your behaviors related to reproduction, related to wanting to be a parent, wanting to conceive, especially for females. So it brings about with it, you have to, when you think about yourself as a sexual being, many people always think about, when I marry, I'm going to have children. So they're already thinking of reproduction. When, it may be as they're adolescent, growing up, having dreams of future, etc. They may they may have knowledge about contraception. They're aware of fertility issues, lifestyles. Many times now, to be aware of all these aspects, normally we ask for sex education to happen in colleges as well as in schools. In our state, mostly education is, say, 9th and 10th. If they do in 10th, that is also about menstruation and pregnancy. Nobody actually gives you the sex education in terms of making you understand the genital organs or what happens if one indulges in sexual relations or coitus or intercourse. So what is important when we think about reproduction is that the person has a fair idea about genital organs. That is, again, the anatomy and physiology. So this aspect of your body is extremely important. And the person who is supposed to teach you about the genital organs at the first level is your parent, then your school, and then your peers. Unfortunately, it is now peers and maybe external sources like media which have taken over this role of giving you the information. And there is so much information that you do not know how to interpret that information. And often you may make mistakes, or you may think that, okay, you are having this kind of an issue or this kind of a problem. And it should never come directly from media. It should never come directly from the net. Along with it, there are other morality issues which also come up when you talk about reproduction, especially now in today's times, when we talk about teenage pregnancies, or we talk about, unmarried, maybe teens who are, say, adults, 18, 19 plus, who probably had consensual sex and are pregnant, but now do not know what to do because they did not intend to get pregnant because they never used any contraception. And now they want to complete college. And then comes the question, now should one go for an abortion? And what is to be done? And then there may be a lot of guilt feelings. Should I be doing this? I don't think it's right. So all these things come up then. And yes, it depends upon what you go through, depends upon your psychological makeup, depends upon your temperament, depends upon the environment at your home and your own knowledge. So first of all, trying to see that we are aware is a first step in gaining control of one's own sexuality. If I am unaware, unprepared, then everything which happens is like a shock to me. And I will refuse to take responsibility. Whereas for our entire life, I have to take responsibility of all my desires. I am hungry, I have to eat. My bladder is full, I have to go and, void urine. I cannot put it on somebody else. I cannot say कि मुझे भूख लगी है, आप भरपेट खाइए, मेरा पेट भर जाएगा. नहीं हो सकता है. So similarly for sexual drives, sexual behaviors, I have to take responsibility. Then we come to something called a sexualization. What is sexualization? It is basically using all these features to influence, control, or manipulate, which is one of the things which happens in the media world. Like people say, okay, they use their attributes, physical attributes, to kind of get things done. So there are many students who complain this also. Many boys may say that, girls get better marks in Viva because they impress the male teachers. So it could be by style of dress, it could be by body language, appearance. It's like an advertising of your sexuality, sensuality, which one is aware of. And because of sexualization, people get more prone, especially women, for sexual harassment and sexual assault. Like we have many girls, or like there was a furor when rape cases happen in society, and people say that, but why do girls have to wear short skirts? Or this is like, inviting rape. And there is so much discussion happening, and so many feminists who say that this is absolutely wrong. And yes, it is wrong, because how a person dresses is that person's desire, right? That doesn't mean I let go of my desires, right? I have to be responsible as an adult for my own drive, and I have to take responsibility for that. The day I start saying, okay, somebody who is good looking and tall and, wears short dresses, which gives, which suddenly stimulates my sexuality, I will go and attack her. Absolutely wrong. Nobody has this right and nobody can do it. So people say that if you, have too much of the sexualization behavior, you're in for trouble. So you will find mothers, trying to dress down their kids, or this is the same kind of, talk every mother gives to her child, that please don't laugh like this, please don't sit like this, cross your legs, this is not the proper way of sitting, please don't cover your body, or this should not be seen, or don't bend down. So all this advice is given to the child from 9 years onwards. She's still growing up, she's still not understanding. But the mother is so scared of something happening at the age of 12 and 13 that she starts priming her daughter from childhood. You should give the right information to the children at the right age when they have queries in their mind. And yes, when they're adolescent, yes, you have to talk about it and you have to give them an idea, because suddenly there's a hormonal change and they are unaware of what is happening in their body. So values are all these qualities which are important in life, which may be, right, wrong, ye sahi hai, nahi sahi hai. There is maybe no right or wrong answer. It depends upon the situation. It is how you look at it. But if you go out of the way and hurt somebody, yes, it is wrong in principle. So moral values, again, depend upon the conduct we do with other people. And it kind of looks at a whole picture rather than, you did this, you ill-treated this person, etc. Now we've been learning about moral values since our school days, because we had moral science from first standard. You've been having these subjects which are taught to you in different ways, and we have been learning lessons from there. We have so many storybooks which kind of gave these stories like Pachatantra, Jakarta Tales, etc. So morality is a part of our life, very important, because we want to be ethical, and that is how, on the basis of developing developmental principles, yes, you have to have a grounding of morality. But again, you have to do the teaching and the child decides for himself or herself. I cannot be punitive or, moral control, agony aunt kind of, having a view on everything the child does and me telling this is right, this is wrong. That is what we have to understand. Along with moral values, we have sexual moral values. Now again, sexual moral values is like, should I be looking at boys when I'm growing up? Should the boys be looking at girls? Should they find a girl attractive, or is it sinful? Or can he just dream of holding a hand of a girl? So these are where, this is right, this is wrong, should I be doing it? So we obtain all our sexual values from the social environment. And if your social environment is very orthodox, very conservative, very rigid, then yes, you may look at everything you do as sinful, or you may feel that, you should be punished because you thought about it. And then many people do go for atonement of their sin, when actually it is just a bodily desire. And it is quite okay, normal to think about sex, to have feelings about sex, and to be in a relationship. So what are the kinds of sexual values which have been there? What have been there since time immemorial? It is like absolutism. That is, you should be pure when you're married. So you should not think about sex, have sex. Absolutely wrong. So this is abstinence until marriage, or something which focuses on being a virgin. Being a virgin was more for the females rather than for the males. It was always implicated for females. But ideally, absolutism is for both the sex, both the genders. And there may be males who also say that, I saved myself for you, because I wanted our relationship to start on this, that, we are all pure, etc. There's no such concept as being pure, etc. Because in body, you don't have any purity per se. It is all your feelings and how you feel. You're looking at the fitness of the body, and you're not looking at the purity of the body. Then relativism is sexual decisions which one makes in nature of the relationships. Suppose there's a couple who is going on, or so maybe in your teen, when you're early young adult something, and you're kind of, in a relationship and you're trying to take decisions कि इसके साथ मुझे जिंदगी बितानी है कि नहीं, and you're moving around for a couple of years, and then you feel that okay, we are now moving around for a couple of years, eventually we are going to marry, so it is okay if we decide to have a physical relationship. So depending upon your relationship, the kind of decisions one takes is called as relativism. And hedonism is like, karna hai to karo, khana hai to khao, So it is like, do it because it is your body, your need, your desire. It's up to you. So these are the three types of values which are there. Most of us may fit into any of them. Again, there is no right or wrong. It all depends upon the way one has been brought up. So I always feel that, yes, every time, I give a talk on sexuality, sensuality, I always find when I interact with people that many of them say that, no, nobody talked to us in our childhood. So very, very few people. At the most, the girls say that the moms told them about menstruation, told them about how to apply a pad and what is a pad, and bus, that's it. Nobody talked about other things than menstruation. So this is very unfortunate in our society or our culture, but I find parents still very, very hesitant. And this is because probably nobody has been trained, because their parents never spoke about it. So ideally, this generation, maybe your generation, is a little more aware of it. But say parents who are from my generation may have partially done the talking, not completely, partially done the talking. But say a generation down the line, yes, I feel the parents would probably do more sex education than we did in our time. So you have to start the talk. And when we are looking at sex education, when I say sex education, what does it mean? Yes, it tries to give you an entire perspective of the genital organs, information related to it, so that every person or every individual has the skills to make healthy decisions about his or her own life. He's able to navigate his own sexual problems. And this would be possible only if somebody has spoken to you everything about it. Whatever you get information from the net, you can get information from the net about sexual problems. May not be about normal sexual behaviors. Many people still do. There are lots of videos about it, but the authenticity of each video is not checked. The scientific content is not checked. So it has to be done from reliable sources. Many times our parents may not be reliable. Their parents may also give a half-baked information, but information has to start from the parent level only, because that is a person who everyone will trust. He's the first person whom you would trust. Then you would probably trust your teacher. So therefore, it has to come at both levels. So when we look at comprehensive sex education, yes, these are all the areas which have to be covered, which I have partly told you in all my previous slides. And this is essential, because if I give this entire information, then I can say, yes, I've done a comprehensive sex education. More important, because now we find that there is so much of influence of other factors. Before, when mobiles were not there, people were not aware of what is happening. People, if you would visit your neighbor's house, you would know what is happening. ये हो रहा है, इनके साथ झगड़ा हो रहा है, नहीं हो रहा है. Now there's too much of loneliness. Kids are lonely and they prefer to be in their rooms only with their mobile. They are not bothered about anything. There is a peer influence. Somebody puts up on the group or Insta, this is life, this is how one should live. And you find, okay, I'm missing this in my life. Maybe I should also do it. You also have hormones which are adding to your problems, because hormones are coming up and you don't know how to react, and you don't know if what you're feeling is something different, or everybody feels that, because nobody comes out and tells, मुझे ये हो रहा है, या मुझे wet dreams हो रहे हैं, या I'm getting an erection when I see a female, say a hot female, or when I'm seeing a movie and there is a scene, I suddenly feel very embarrassed because, I get aroused. So many things are happening. So many things are happening with children, with adolescents, young adults, and they really don't know whom to share and whom to ask. So therefore, very, very important that I always tell parents that one has to change as per the society norms. You have to understand that there is a change happening. You have to accept the norms. Now, what is happening is most of the parents are stuck in their era. So it's like, हमारे टाइम में तो ऐसा नहीं होता था, हमारे समय में तो हम बाबूजी का सब मानते थे, हमारे समय में हम भटकते नहीं थे, पर आपके समय और आज के समय में 20 साल का फर्क है। 20 साल में दुनिया इधर की उधर हो गई। 20 years back, 25 years back, mobiles were not so frequent. Now you can't live. It has become a tool of day. It's a necessity. You can't do without your mobile. So 25 years back, it was luxury. Mobile है मतलब बहुत अमीर है, ये है। अभी तो सबके पास मोबाइल है, उस पर सब कुछ होता है। तो इतना जो कॉम्प्लेक्स था अभी इतना इजी हो गया है, और उस मोबाइल के जरिए मुझे सब कुछ, सब ज्ञान मिलता है। तो ये सही है नहीं है, ये पेरेंट्स को समझना है, and they have to change themselves. But the most difficult part is them letting go of their own beliefs. But yes, parents are changing. So parents are taking time to come to this concept of, okay, boys and girls both can have relationships. They can have girlfriend, boyfriend from school onwards. Okay, they can go and stay overnight with the thing, and one has to trust. They can go for picnics, and they can be in relationships. And my daughter can talk for hours on the phone, and I have to accept it. But I get angry internally, and I keep on reminding, ये क्यों कर रहा है, क्यों कर रही है, किसके साथ बात कर रही है, क्यों बात कर रही है, and I'm brushed off by the child. And then there is a difficulty, or there is a problem in the parent-child relationship where each one doesn't trust the other person. And when you take sexuality in the bargain, so the mistrust is like 100%. So parents are like, रात तक मोबाइल पे रहती है, व्हाट्सएप पे रहती है, किसके साथ करती है, क्या बातें करती है, क्या मैसेजेस डालते हैं, हम लोग को मालूम नहीं क्या चल रहा है इनकी जिंदगी में. So these are the queries with which, parents come to me, and I have to tell them, relax, and you have to let go of some of your beliefs, because you have to let the child develop, let the child understand, let the child make mistakes, come to terms with mistakes, and I can't do anything. Everybody has to learn from their own, has to learn their own bodily responses. So I cannot take away my child's pain. If he makes a mistake, he goes through pain. That is the reality of life. So the most avoided communication which I find parents have, they have a daughter or a son, because they, feel that ये बोलते नहीं है, जाते हैं, पैसे लेके जाते हैं, कहाँ जाते हैं, कुछ बताते नहीं है. Because the moment they feel there is a girl or a boy in the picture, they feel it is love. The moment they say, kids say, okay, we are going out, they feel, अच्छा, ये जा रहे हैं मतलब अभी कुछ गलत ही होगा या गलत कर रहे हैं. So every time, this is looked at. And probably now, as parents are getting aware, and as now they are accepting homosexuality, as they are accepting, lesbianism, being gay, gender dysphoria, though there is, cultural difference, and they still find it difficult कि society में क्या होगा और हमारे साथ कोई बात नहीं करेंगे. But still, मेरे बेटे के लिए ठीक है, अगर उसको ऐसा करना है या ऐसा रहना है तो मैं साथ दूंगी. It's a very important change which I'm now seeing in parents, where they are coming to terms to accept something. So I'm sure this will also happen in the long run. But yes, there would be still some teething problems which are there. As we are growing up, as kids are growing up, they are always curious. They want to know everything. They are not scared of anything. They are not scared of experimenting. पहले के जमाने में ऐसे था, because decision making कभी दिया नहीं था. Everybody grew in the, पिताजी ने बोला है मुझे ये करना है, माँ ने ये बोला है ऐसे ही करना है. अपनी बुद्धि का इस्तेमाल नहीं करते थे, या मुझे ये करना है कि नहीं, खुद सोचते नहीं थे। मुझे नहीं करना था, फिर भी इन्होंने कहा है ना तो सही ही होगा करके मैं करती। So this is the difference between the previous generation and today's generation. They will say, no, it's my life. I know what is right for me. Who are you to tell me what is right, what is wrong? I know what I like. So you have an increase in all these experiments are leading to, yes, increase in pregnancies, abuse, date rape. So very, very important that as a parent, I tell my teenage daughter about all these things. Decision would be hers if she eventually decides to have sex, but it should be with a complete knowledge of what it will lead to. My job as a parent is to make the child aware and protect her from untoward things by making her intellectually empowered to take right decisions, not get flown with the emotions. So if I am a good parent, I will do it like this. That is what I tell parents. So invite discussion, whether it is with your teachers, wherever you are comfortable, or with friends. Please talk about all your attitudes, values, etc., responsibilities, personal beliefs, etc. If somebody comes and tells you, please tell them it's good that you came and told me. There are a lot of differences between Generation X and Generation Z. The Z is the current one, who are, born with the self. Parents expect them to be mature by the age of 10 only. They say, hey, isko sab kuch aata hai, isko malum hai. They've been programmed to learn early because it's like, everything is fast. Sab kuch aana chahiye. And yes, because they are on media, they see so many YouTube videos, they know all kids talk to their parents, so they have no issues discussing anything with parents of today. So sex education, is it effective? Yes, it would be, because these are the things that I have to make a child empowered when I'm giving sex education. And I'm giving this knowledge. And that is what I just want to insist, that if you do these things, give knowledge, you have done your role as a parent or a teacher. And what is the outcome? Because when I give the right knowledge, the right way, correct medical information, I have somebody who's well informed. I make him a sexually responsible adult, because when he looks at his interactions somewhere, he will remember all the things which are told, and his decisions would be like a responsible adult. That is what one is looking at. And that is the only time when a person or a child will talk to you about sex. They don't talk about sex when they are young adults, they are married. They don't come to parents at all. They don't even go to doctors. So this period of adolescence is extremely important. Then as you're going up, then as from adolescence, now you're going to being a young adult, how will the development go on? So puberty starts, yes, you're capable of reproduction. That is the earliest sign of sexuality in an adolescent. When you become adult, all your responses become self-regulated. It is how you interact with others and your social environments which will modulate your responses. And when you say, okay, you've completed your sexual development, it is still a continuing process. Is when you know that you are a sexually mature person, when you respect the autonomy of others, you have respect for humanity, moral autonomy, you take consent. So when you do that, then yes, you have understood and you've gone through your adult sexuality. When you're trying to, I told you, a couple of times about the body's response, physiological response. So what happens, like when people talk about, they are in love, they are, having romance and they feel like, doing sex. So there is a way in which your body responds. The first phase is desire. When a person looks at somebody, gets aroused by that person and is motivated to have sex. So he is drawn to that person and he wants that person to hold him tight, etc., to kiss him, to love, hug, etc. So that is desire. When you have desire and you come close to each other and you kiss and then you touch, then you find a lot of mounting of sexual pleasure. And there are changes in your body to show that, yes, you're liking this change. This is called as excitement. With excitement, yes, people want to have intercourse and they have coitus. and then they experience a sense of pleasure. Basically, they experience a sense of contraction of the pelvic floor and the perineal muscles. So many people don't know what is orgasm, and then they say, okay, Parmanand, बहुत खुशी मिली sex करने के बाद. So what is important is your experience of your emotional state and a release phenomena which you get because of that mounting or peaking of the sexual pleasure. And after that is a state of relaxation where for some time your body and your muscles need to relax. So that is called as a refractory period, which is seen more in males, but not seen in females. So in short, this was the body's response or the sexual response cycle, which one has to understand. Then when one is going, developing again as a young adult, I will just repeat this. You start understanding your sexual orientation, whether you are attracted to male, female, or both. You try to integrate love and sex. Many times you're in this conflict. If I'm in love, then it means it is sex. I'm in love because I need the sex. Or sometimes there is a conflict of sex which comes in relationship and somebody holds you to ransom. You did sex means you were in love with me, and now you're saying you're not in love with me. You have to understand both are two different things. One is talking about a physical act, one is talking about an emotional bonding. So you have to understand what you're in it for. And that is how one will, now there is kind of males and females do both the gender roles. You have males who sit in the house and also look after the house and look after kids, and you have females who are totally career oriented. So today you're not having a particular male role and a female role or a gender role. It is more or less unisex, and both gender roles are united, and we find both sexes doing both the roles. You have to then go in for this intimacy and commitments for relationships. And this happens when you probably go through partners, you understand partners, you try to find potential partners, which you will do by courtship, cohabitation, dating, etc., so that you improve your experience and say, okay, I like this person more than this person, etc. And that is how many people may take decisions. They may be in multiple relationships. Then you make decisions regarding childbearing, fertility, etc., and develop your own heterosexual identity, which is finally approved by society. So this is how a young adult will go through that phase. And in college life, yes, you're growing when you're having an intellectual development, you're having a social development. You may be staying in a hostel, you may be away from your family, you may be more independent, you may be in an environment where you may have many potential partners. And as you're growing up, you learn through these interactions which you have. Now, as you're growing up, again, the sexual moral values come into play, and it is like, premarital sex, sahi hai kya? Non-marital sexuality, matlab kya hai? So there have been, these standards which have been described. So either it's abstinence, like we said about the values, कि करना ही नहीं है, दोनों ने एंगेज नहीं करना है सेक्स में. डबल स्टैंडर्ड कि पुरुष है तो कर सकता है, औरत ने किया तो गलत है. So this is double standard. Permissiveness without emotional affection is like that relativism. Means they are in a relationship, तो ठीक है. Eventually they're going to marry, whatever. So okay, they can have sex. Permissiveness without affection, मतलब they are not in a relationship. ये तो it's like one night stand. ये कैसा है? ये कहाँ का है? Totally galat hai, nahi kar sakte hain. So these are again the moral standards which are there, and one has to understand, find out what one believes in. So a lot of beliefs about premarital sex and boundaries placed on women. Women, if they have it, it is wrong. All religions forbid it, and many people who believe in premarital sex say it's the natural thing to do, and it is the natural thing to do because everyone has a drive. But because of the after effects of this premarital sex, because people don't take the right decisions, don't take the responsibility, and you have an increase in teenage unmarried mothers, unmarried teenage pregnancies, and then lots of babies being put up for adoption, which shouldn't have been the case. So therefore, very important. So when you are in a relationship, it is very important to ask for consent. Every person has a right to say no. Nobody has to feel threatened. अरे ये मेरे को 4 time date पे लेके गया, 4 time उसने dinner खिलाया, and now he's holding my hand and he's just asking, can we have a cuddle? And I don't know what to answer. Yeah, I don't want to do it, but then I'm feeling very obliged. कि इतना पैसा दिया है, ठीक है, now let him do this much. No, if you don't want to, please say no, and you have every right to say no. And every male and every female should know that consensual sex is with consent. मतलब तुम भी राजी, मैं भी राजी, तो कर सकते हैं. And law is also very strict about it. So we have the POCSO Act, in which many of these date rapes come, and then whether you like it or you don't like it, your boyfriend is put in jail. Why? Because you are underage, you're a minor, he may be a major, both may be underage, but you didn't act. Though you were consenting, you were not in an age to give consent. So date rape is very common. So very important that we talk about all these things and tell. When you're looking at developing relationships and you look at, what kind of a guy a woman wants and what is she actually looking for in life. So the standard answers are, I say, somebody who's dependable on and hardworking, blah, 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 blah. She also wants a guy who's handsome, financially stable. ये सब कुछ होना चाहिए वो लड़के में. अभी नॉर्मली लाइफ में इतना सब कुछ नहीं मिलता है, हमको कॉम्प्रोमाइज करनी ही पड़ती है. बट इफ यू हैव टू लुक एट कि भाई मुझे इसके साथ बात करना अच्छा लगता है क्या, ये मुझे समझता है क्या, हम लोग इंटेलेक्चुअल लेवल पे बातें कर सकते हैं क्या, इज ही केयरिंग, इज ही समबडी हु इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल, डिपेंडेबल, ऑनेस्ट, then yes, this person is good. So that is what one has to go for and what one has to understand. Sexual practices of men, yes, men have usually an early exposure. Many of the men may have their first sex in their teens. They have grown up like, when they talk, boy talk, or all the male talk is like achieving scores. It's not like football scores. The number of scores they have achieved or goals they have produced by dating. इसके साथ भी था, उसके साथ भी था. So they are used to multiple partners. They are used to risk-taking behaviors. And men come out as sexually aggressive. They demand. And they project it that way. And they take it. As contrary to females who are very submissive, who are very diffident, who do not say no, and who allow it. So this is the way which are differences in male and female, but it is also in the way we've been brought out and what is shown in all your media. Your films show males taking a woman as if it is his right, which is wrong. So when a man takes a woman on a date, very clear what he wants. He desires sexual activity. He doesn't know whether he'll get it or no. When a woman goes on a date, it is all, my future, ये मेरे लिए ठीक है क्या, इसके साथ मैं रह सकती है क्या. And that is all what they see. So the problem comes up when she doesn't want what he wants and they get aggressive and then may get violent, or then you may have all these date rape kind of things. So when you look at men who are looking at marriage, very clear what they want. They want somebody who's caring, माँ का ख्याल रखे, somebody who's mature, बात पे रोए नहीं, सब कुछ उसको समझ में आए, and somebody who's sexually active. उनका यही 3 demand है. Whereas when you looked at females' demands, I told you 10 things on one side. So what difference है? So if you're looking for a better half so that you have a better life, you have to look at it from, what are relationships all about? You have to have listening skills, communication skills. You have to show caring. Love, whether it is there or no, love is a positive emotion. It is just that you are affectionate, but what you need to say is trust, feel secure, and you can show caring to that person. And you feel, okay, इसके लिए मुझे कुछ करना है. वो भावना है, तो भाई उसे हम love ही कहेंगे. And you learn from your mistakes. Say you come to know that partners, whatever, इसको ये पसंद नहीं है, वो पसंद है, जानबूझ के मैं वही करूंगी, तो that means I'm not learning. That means I don't want that relationship to work. So this is what you have to understand, because this is what relationships are all about. You should not think about relationship matlab, everything hunky dory, sab kuch theek thaak. नहीं, बहुत एडजस्टमेंट होता है, बहुत बहुत मेहनत करनी पड़ती है if you want any relationship to work. And you have to be very clear what you want from that relationship. You have to be communicative with the partner. Matlab, you have to know what he wants and what you want. Along with it, very important for all of you to know about gender harassment and discrimination, which is happening all around you. You should be aware to pick it up and to bring it to the notice if you feel, yes, there is harassment happening. You should see that there is no gender discrimination which is taking place in whichever area you're working or at home or whatever, but it is often seen. You know, सिर्फ बेटी खाना बनाएगी या बेटी को बोला जाता है जय पानी लेके आ, क्यों बेटे को भी बोल सकते हैं भाई मेहमान आए पानी लेके आ. There should be no discrimination. Everybody has two hands, everybody has two legs, we all can work equally. So we should work, and it has to start from home. So we have to prevent discrimination, we have to prevent harassment. You have to be I was told that you all have been sensitized to sexual harassment, so I'm not talking more about it. But something which you don't like, you have to tell the person that you're doing this, you're crossing boundaries. If you continue to do it, I will report. And you don't have to be scared. Nobody is going to say it's your fault. So very clear guidelines which are given by UGC, say for colleges, what is sexual harassment? What kind of contact is called sexual harassment? So all these things are put up. So you have to understand, it is very common. Harassment, abuse is happening day in and day out. You read any paper and you'll find this has happened there. You find that after the rape, people are murdered. So it's more criminal. So when all this is happening, if we keep quiet and we face and we accept it, then we are equally to blame. So you have to come out. You have to be strong. And yes, people do say that, itna sab karke, people look at us only, and it's almost like, I am guilty of something happening to myself. And tumhari wajah se hi hua hai. So yes, we have to create awareness in society also. We have to create awareness in colleges. We have to create awareness everywhere that there has to be redressal of this kind of behavior, which is almost criminal. We have to understand that people can go through a wide variety of psychological consequences. You can go from, anxiety, depression, fear. You can stop doing good in your college. You will fail academically. You'll have sleep disturbances. You may have PTSD. Just 4 days back, I'm seeing a case who's had an incident when she was 12. She's right now 22. And she left the studies. And she's like, I can't focus. I can't concentrate. I'm feeling very unhappy. And a year ago, the police complaint was made against that person. So for 10 years, she's carrying the trauma. For 10 years, she's bearing the trauma. She's suffering from it. And very late in life, her parents decided, okay, to go with her and register a police complaint. So we need a lot of support. You need your parental support. You need community support. You need your peer support. So you will have support if you take the stance. So you have to see that you are strong. Now, as I come to the end of the talk, I'm just giving you an overview of the sexual myths. Yes, last year again, it was spoken and told, but sexuality, growing up, understanding sexuality is not complete till I talk about the myths and misconceptions, which are very prevalent in our society. In our culture, we have innumerable things. In our culture, we have several kind of patis, so Ayurveda and some beliefs and spirituality, all of them may talk about abstinence. All of them may talk about conserving semen. Religions, many religious scriptures say sex is wrong, you should not have it, or you should not have multiple partners, you should not do it. They talk about homosexuality and it is banned. Then you have many faith healers who keep on talking about a lot of jari booties and all that which will give you empowerment in your sexual life. So we are, flooded with so many things, and the end result is you have confused individuals because there is no sexual education which has taken place. And when you talk about sex education, one part of it is also talking about myths and misconceptions. So if you have, now most of the myths are spread, amongst colleagues, peers, friends, or from the internet. Or you have advertisements, you have advertisements when you're traveling in trains, etc. कि आपको इस प्रकार की शिकायत है या आपका लिंग छोटा है तो आप हमारे पास आइए, इस आपको सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा. So all this is wrong. This is creating a lot of uh, creating so much of miscommunication in general public that they feel that they are having a problem, and actually there is no problem. When you have night falls or wet dreams, it is normal to have, because it is a discharge happening from the body because one did not masturbate or one did not have coitus, whatever the condition is. So we do talk about masturbation, and that yes, you can have masturbation because it is okay to masturbate. There is nothing wrong in masturbation. It is like a desire. It is just like I'm touching my own body, and I can touch my own body. I exercise with my hands and legs. Nobody comes and tells me don't exercise. So I can touch my penis too if I want to. So all these are the myths which are associated, which we have to clarify. You have to tell them. There are myths related to semen, like, it is very precious, it should not be lost. But when you have sex, obviously you have a discharge. It is lost from your body. So when it is lost by masturbation, it is wrong. When it is lost by having intercourse with your wife, it is okay. How can it be? It's the same thing. It's the same phenomenon. So you have to make them aware, make them, knowledge is power. So you have to tell them the right thing. Sometimes they say that, okay, when we urinate, micturate, suddenly the semen comes out. That is early morning, because the passage for the urine and semen is the same single tube. So it is bound to come. It's okay, let it come. Do you hold on to your urine? Do you hold on to your feces? Do you say, nahi, bahut important hai sharir ke liye, nahi jana chahiye? No. You look for the next loo wherever available, because you just can't wait. So if you have a discharge of semen, sequel, you shouldn't look at it that way. So again, all these things like it relating to exhaustion, causing tiredness, causing acne, harmful effects, नस दब जाती है, लिंग कमजोर हो जाता है, ये सब चीजें बतानी पड़ती है, समझानी पड़ती है, give them examples, make them understand. Before that, you have to find out what is their knowledge about it, from where have they ingrained this information. ये सब चीजें बहुत मायने रखती है. So very important for you all when you are college students to go to the right sites to get information. Don't go to any site and accept whatever is told. Similarly about vasectomy or नसबंदी करने से total life का pleasure निकल जाता है. No, it doesn't hamper anything related to your sexual pleasure. Doesn't reduce any drive. It just stops the reproductive process. And that is what we want, because you have already maybe 2 kids and more than enough. You have to look after them properly. So we have to have the right kind of information giving to the people in order for them to, understand and behave accordingly, so that they don't go to these faith healers. They don't try all these things for improving their stamina, vigor, male virility, etc. Similarly, females also have myths. Female have myths about hymen, that hymen should not break. First night should be something where, एक तो virginity के बारे में होता है, and virgin है मतलब hymen है, बहुत ज़्यादा pressure लगता है. So people, those who have not heard about it or have seen in movies always feel that, first night the woman screams and she has bleeding and it should be like that only. If it is not like that, that means something was wrong. And males may also have this belief. So all this has to be told, because hymen can get ruptured by doing gymnastics, by doing cycling, by just, doing some kind of exercise where you stretch your legs, etc., where you do kickboxing, etc. So you have to understand that in today's times, this doesn't hold true, and it is not true and not needed. Again, there may be some myths regarding the breast size, and every woman should be very voluptuous, or if a woman doesn't have breast, then she's less arousal. Or if she has no breast, then maybe, she can't breastfeed. There'll be no milk production. So all these things are there, which are not related at all to sexuality. It depends upon individual, what an individual likes. So don't go in with the mass. Don't know, usko ye अच्छा लगता है, मतलब मुझे भी वही अच्छा लगना चाहिए, ऐसा नहीं है. आप आपको खुद को पूछना है कि आपको क्या अच्छा लगता है. So until we develop our own things, we are not going to, yeah, our own ideals and our own ideas and awareness about our own wishes. I will be always, influenced by iska uska beliefs. We don't need that. The menstruation related beliefs have been, are quite rampant, and many are changing now, especially, in the earlier stages, like don't go to the temple, don't pray to God, which still happens in many cultures, but now the younger generation is quite open and don't follow it. And yes, sex during menstruation can be done, but it's just a messy thing. And the woman may be having pain, so it's not a good thing. You have to respect a woman's body, and you have to respect and ask consent before doing. There could be some things about pregnancy also, that whether sex during pregnancy harms the fetus, and if a woman is pregnant, then she loses her sexuality. So a woman is most sexual, most sensual, because she has a huge amount of hormonal play during her pregnancy, and she's very aroused. But yes, you have to look at the positions, and you have to look at if she's going to a condition like placenta previa, in which pressure is not allowed. You have to respect that, ask your doctors, and then yes, one can even have sex during pregnancy, because otherwise it's very difficult for the couple to be abstinent from sex the entire 9 months of pregnancy. So yes, there are all these, several myths which one has to actually discuss, talk about, and each individual should come about and tell what they are, having. Everything may not be there in everyone. Some may be having some kind of myths or misconceptions. So unless you talk with everybody, you will not know. Unless you discuss with your friends, you will not know. Unless you have more such awareness lectures, you may not know. So with that, I think I finish. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Neena ma'am, for this elaborated talk. And we really appreciate your efforts in making our students and everyone aware about the sexuality. This was really lucid and young generation, or the generation Y, Z friendly talk. We can say that it will surely help them to cultivate healthy attitudes about sexual health. And it is not only helpful for the students, but also we feel it is helpful for the parents and faculty staff at Symbiosis International Deemed University. We appreciate that you try to touch all the aspects of sexuality in a holistic way, and we appreciate your kind guidance, ma'am. Thank you very much. We have a couple of questions. If time allows, can we ask them to you, ma'am?
Yes.
Yeah. So there is a question: how safe is the safe period method to avoid pregnancy, or is the contraception must for every intercourse if they don't want to have progeny or sexual transmitted diseases?
So two different things. If they don't want to have STDs, contraception like using Nirod is a must. And yes, most of us don't ask for the HIV status, but there are many couples who now ask for it, because they want to be sure that there is no HIV. So then you can have it even without the contraception. But again, you don't know whether that partner is having multiple partners. So it becomes very difficult unless, of course, you're married and then you're very sure that, this person is not going anywhere else. About safe period, unless your cycles are very regular, when your ovulation has taken place, you're able to calculate it to the dot, then yes, safe period definitely tells you when you can avoid which day is sure shot. So 1 day prior, 1 day later to the ovulation period would be the safe period, because 24 to 48 hours ke upar ovum is not alive. But if you're not sure and you're just randomly going to calculate it, you may make a mistake and then you may get pregnant. So if you can avoid that, or you don't know that, then you'll have to kind of monitor, write your diary every day where you know when your cycle is coming, and you get an ovulation pain. Now, if many people don't have an ovulation pain because they may have anovulatory cycles, so again, that may be difficult for females. So every female has to be actually aware of her body. When she's very aware of her body's physiology, she may be able to take these decisions. Whether one should take oral contraceptive pill or whether one should take that dye pill or something like that, how many times will you keep on taking is one thing. So it's best if the male can use a contraceptive method, though it is not 100% foolproof, but still it is a barrier.
Yes, and even female condoms are there right now. So females can also use the condom if their male partners are not comfortable with it. Yes, thank you, ma'am. So on a safer note, using the contraception would be the safe practice, we can say, rather than just relying on safe period method or just taking this into risk for STDs, HIV or the pregnancy itself. Okay. One more question, ma'am. How would you guide about the toxic relationship patterns? They are sometimes evident in young, vulnerable population, that they love the person who is trying to sometimes harm them or who is trying to be abusive with them, and still they can't find it to safeguard themselves or still get attached with that person so emotionally deeply that it is paining them at the same time they are liking this pain sometimes.
So, it depends upon your own personality trait. If you are masochistic and you are married to a sadist who likes to inflict pain, and somewhere along the line you enjoy the pain also, you like the pain also, or you have such kind of feelings for that person that you don't want to leave him. It could be maybe as a childhood, you came from what background, whether you were from a broken family, whether you had feelings of mistrust, insecurity, whether you are having any psychopathology, say anxiety, depression, or you're in this relationship because you see no other future. So all these things would need to be evaluated. But if a person is in an abusive relationship, one has to walk out of that relationship. You have to have that much self-worth and that much self-dignity that I would not allow somebody else to inflict harm on me. Nobody has a right to do so, and nobody has a right to sexually manipulate you. So physical harm, domestic violence is another thing, verbal abuse, everything is intolerable. And in today's law, everything you can, have a case put against this person who is doing that. But if you don't feel confident of approaching or you don't know what to do, one should have a good friend or maybe take help of some senior in the family or in the house who can, guide the person. So this is important. I mean, and now help is available. It is, even your phone, even you can just dial and police come to your place. So it has come in society, and we need to be more proactive rather than, karu ki nahi karu, par usko dard bhi nahi dena. But you have to first look at yourself too and the pain you are going through.
Yes, so prioritizing the self should be the first thing, and prioritizing your mental, emotional well-being should be the priority rather than thinking about other person when especially they are trying to harm you through any means that you suggest. Thank you, ma'am. So these are the two questions we have till now, and we would like to thank ma'am for explaining this to our students and the attendees of the webinar. And just to conclude, we have got something. The theme for World Sexual Health Day is Let's Talk Pleasure, and it recognizes the role of sexual pleasure in overall sexual health and well-being. But it is equally important to emphasize that with pleasure comes the responsibility that it is not encroaching upon anyone's rights, and it is mutually exclusive with respecting privacy and individuality at the same time. So this will be very fundamental to know that how people practice the healthy ways of sexuality. And thank you, ma'am, for attending, for enlightening us, guiding us this webinar. Our SKU head, Dr. Girija Mahale, ma'am, has also joined the webinar. Maybe she can have a couple of words with you for this.
Yes.
Over to you, Girija.
Thank you, Neena ma'am. It's a pleasure reconnecting with you. I still remember our KM days when you taught this topic, and I always, now when I'm teaching my students, I always relate back to the teachings that I've received from you. So thank you so much for conducting this session in your beautiful manner. You have explained it in a very simplistic manner, and I thank you, and I'm truly grateful to you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Girija. Yes.
Also, we'd like to inform you, ma'am, that Symbiosis Center for Emotional Wellbeing has entered into education field now from mental health, and we have started a degree program which is BSc in Mental Health, Bachelor of Science in Mental Health. So I would like to just explain the viewers and also to you what some key important features of this degree program. So may I share the screen, please?
Yes, yes. I'll
Thank
just,
you.
I have stopped share or is it there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Sure.
yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. I will. Thank you, ma'am. So, BSc in Mental Health is a 3-year degree program. Dr. Girija Mahale is program head for this degree program, and it is one of its kind with uh, first of its kind academic degree program, which is covering many aspects of mental health and psychology in a form of art, blend of humanities and sciences. And we just see some silent features. It is a full-time undergraduate degree program, which is open for all streams, and it is aligned with National Education Policy and National Commission for Allied and Healthcare Professions Act. It has an innovative, robust curriculum, which we are going to explain further. It has a practical exposure with 2 internships and a research project as well. The campus for this degree program is located at Arogya Dham, Lavre in Pune, which is recently inaugurated by our Honorable Prime Minister, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji. And it has a lot of other facilities like medical college within the campus. There is a Symbiosis community outreach program, hostel facilities available on first come first basis, and the transport facility, gymnasium, sports, and other facilities are available. We have different courses as we discussed, like community mental health or counseling, determinants of mental health, child and adolescent mental health, psychopathology, research, and many more. And the graduates can get into many other domains like corporate healthcare sector, community health sectors, public health sector, education setups, and mental health research centers after completing graduation. They will also have opportunity to postgraduate into various streams based on the eligibility. And the eligibility for enrolling into this degree program is passing 10 plus 2 and minimum 50% or equivalent grades into 12th standard. So these are the contacts. If any of your friends or relatives have just recently passed the 12th standard exam and they are willing to enter into mental health profession or psychology, they can reach to us. The admissions are feeling fast and the course commencement is already started. So we can definitely incorporate you soon. Okay, with this, I just hand over to our IT team, and thank you, Dr. Neena ma'am, for this kind webinar, and we are grateful for your efforts. Thank you.